Nice. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Excellent. Hello. Welcome to Push to Talk, episode 5. I'm joined today by my good buddy, Devon Nguyen. Hello. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, nice to meet you. I'm really excited to be here. A lot of people usually know me by my social handle, so ssjdevon, but since it's just me and an old friend of mine, just Devon for today.
Oh, I was going to shout out all the stuff you do. This dude, he bodybuilding, magic, wrestling, uh competitive, what do they call it, gaming? Are you more
Competitive
like, are
gaming.
you in the stream, are you in like the streamer section, or are you in like the competitive gaming section, or are you in both spaces simultaneously?
I'm definitely more in the content creation side of things. Competitiveness is usually more casual for me. I definitely like to meet and play with people who I know are better than me and I can learn a lot from. So I guess that's where the competitive side comes from. But I would definitely consider myself more casual.
I don't know, man. I've seen some of your jet clips with the op. I'm just saying. This man's crazy. And I mean that's just coming from me because like I tried Valorant for like a week and I just couldn't get behind it. Like it's so hard to be good at that game. And you make it, I've watched a ton of your TikToks and like everything, it's just like clip after clip, highlight reel. It's crazy. And I just can't do it. Maybe it's your CS:GO background, I'm not sure.
No, man, trust me. It's definitely just the socials. So many people believe that like a person can be good based on like the things that they see, but you got to keep in mind that those are the highlights you're seeing. You're
Yeah.
definitely not seeing all the times I've missed, I've been made fun of for how bad I am, it's
Yeah. That's true. No, I got bullied off Valorant because of my crosshair.
no way, man. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and people were
uh,
just shaming me for it. I'll come back eventually, but
uh,
I've been trying to, I've obviously started doing this podcast, and it's just
yeah.
kind of been better for me than like gaming, because I love gaming, but I just like, for me personally, like I'm not good enough, or like I don't have the capacity to stream. Like it's just not my pleasure. And
Mhm.
so I needed to find something that would just be good for me. And this is kind of that channel for me. Um, so that's kind of what I've been doing. But I want to talk to you a little bit today about just all the stuff you do. So, I mentioned
Yeah.
bodybuilding,
Mhm.
magic, wrestling. You're a lot like me in that we like to try a lot of things, but how
Oh
much
yeah.
of that like are you still sticking with? Because I don't know, I haven't kept up with you, you know?
Mhm. Well, before I start on that, I just wanted to say I just like really appreciate the fact that like even though we might not get to like catch up every single day or like as often as we would like to, I feel like you're one of the few friends where no matter how long the duration of time we spend apart from each other is, it always feels like kind of like home whenever we do get a chance to talk again. It feels like
Yeah.
we haven't stopped talking to each other.
Well,
But
I want to talk on that too, because I only
uh
have two of those, and you're one of them, which is kind of weird. Like, because you and I, like, we kind of, I don't think we were ever like super close until the magic thing happened, and then
mhm.
like it just happened. You know what I mean? Like,
And
it just
if
magically appeared. Like we were just best friends, and it's just weird. It's weird how things work, you know?
it's crazy to think about how long ago that was, like high
Your
school
freshman
feels
year?
like a lifetime ago, for
Was it your
real.
freshman year?
Yeah, when I first met you, I think it was because I, I think
I,
my very first strong impression of you was the fact that you were the dude that always looked so dapper compared to everyone else when we would walk through. Like no matter what, I always knew it was you when I saw someone dressed really well, and that
sh-
set a really strong impression on me.
Shout out my mom. She took me to Kohl's, I think it was. She took me to
uh,
Kohl's and was like, here's my credit card. This is a one-time thing. I'm just gonna get you all the nicest clothes." And I was like, "Yes, mom." Because
yeah.
she was like, you wear the hoodie, same hoodie every day, same shoes.
Mhm.
You've gotten new socks in years." And she was like, I'm gonna size you up." And so she got me all this like dapper clothes, and I loved it. It certainly boosted my confidence, especially like when we started the magic stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So I actually remember when I met you, it was in like the main like foyer of Heritage.
Mhm.
And I remember you doing like magic tricks like right by the stairs, like right before the theater, but right, you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
remember
no.
everything. I remember the moment, the location. It's crazy. So yeah, we started doing magic tricks. And
Mhm.
do you still do magic? Do you still go out and perform and stuff like that?
I think a lot of the time that I spent with Magic was kind of restricted once COVID started. Like I was really careful in terms of like how social I was and how much time I spent in close physical proximity with each other. With all the vaccines coming out, I think I'm definitely getting a little more comfortable with it. But I think that's something I keep to the side as to like keep my mind busy, because I know for a fact that I'm one of those people where if I spend too much free time doing nothing, I start to get really sad. I have to stay
Yeah.
productive.
I mean, that's kind of the same way for me. Like, I remember my
Mhm.
boss was saying to me, like, "Oh, I saw you made like a commit to the repository at 2 a.m. Like, you don't need to do that." And I was like, "You don't understand. If I'm not doing something,
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose my mind."
No, that's definitely one of the things I really admire and respect about you is like you when you really commit to something, you just have like this hustle for it. And I
Yeah.
just like can't even imagine, you know.
But it also hurts because you have so many failed projects. When you kind of have that mentality, you have so many failed projects because like either people aren't willing to put in the same amount of work as you, or like you just realize you're not that good at it. Like for me, I love theater to pieces, but I think I took theater as far as I possibly could because at the end of the day, I was doing theater because I wanted to make something out of it, not
Yeah.
because like, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I truly wanted to make something out of it, and I think I realized that that vertical just wasn't for me. I auditioned at like 20 schools for musical theater, and I got called back to two. I went to both, and I didn't get them. So it's kind of just like that hustle is also accompanied by like the ability to recognize when maybe a vertical isn't for you, you know?
Right.
So
Well, one of the things I've noticed about that approach is like, I think it's always better to have done something and to know than to always sit and wonder, like, what if I did this, you know?
yeah. Well, that's kind of how this podcast started. I heard somebody say something like, you should be putting content out. And I thought to myself,
Mhm.
I don't even upload to Instagram, but like once a year. I was like, I just need to put something out there. I tried TikTok. I'm not really good at the
Mhm.
short form stuff. I'm just not.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to just try something where I could just put out consistent content, and I've been really happy with this, you know. And you obviously put out content like it feels like every day I get like an upload or a notification saying like, oh, Dev uploaded to TikTok, and it's always a fun little clip, you know. So I feel like you're ahead of me on the internet stuff. I'm still catching up.
I think it's just because like every time that something happens, it's kind of weird that I'm a little wired this way, but I'm always thinking like, wow, that would be really cool to share with someone. And even if it's like just to one person, if it like makes an impression on them, I think that's like just a straight win, you know?
Do you ever get like afraid though? Because I'm really inhibited by like my fear of putting stuff like out onto the internet. I'm like, oh, but what if people don't like it? I'm very much affected by that.
No, I totally understand where you're coming from. I feel like I ask myself that every single time that I get ready. Like I'm editing and I'm like, what if like people don't like this or the certain way that I'm doing it? And I think it's the longer you do it, the more you kind of get used to the idea that although you want to pretend yourself to a certain audience or like reach out to a certain audience, you also have to remind yourself that you're doing this for you too. You know, that's how things
Yeah.
kind of start. Um, Also, like no matter what, at the end of the day, if you're happy with your content, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to that because I think
Mhm.
that's what made me not happy about TikTok is because it was my goal. I was like, I'm going to get like one TikTok that blows up
Yeah.
by the end of the year. That was my goal for
Mhm.
not last year, but like the last 3 months of last year.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't do it. And I wasn't having fun doing it. I wasn't
Right.
enjoying it at all. I was like, this is stupid. I just feel like I'm being stupid trying to get people to like my stuff. And so I deleted all those, you know what I mean? And I've just been kind of doing things that I enjoy. So like right now my big things are work, boxing, and doing this every twice a week. So yeah, those are kind of just my spaces right now. I'm really
No, for
happy.
sure. Every time I see you upload like a post to your story about like how great of a workout you had or like when you just went boxing, as soon as I see it, I'm like, man, I am so motivated to go to the gym and get a good workout in right now, dude. Like it
Yeah.
just blows my mind how much I look up to you, not just as like a person, but also as a content creator. Like when you pitched this idea to me or when you were first telling me about it, I was like, wow, that's so cool. That's so awesome.
Yeah. Well, but the thing you're saying is like you look up to me, but like, bro, like you're younger than me. But dude, you got me into like fitness and like working out. And I remember like asking you all these questions because it was bodybuilding originally or like weightlifting competitively, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
And I had never like lifted a dumbbell a day before I went into that gym with you. And it was so intimidating. I walked in, there's all these wrestlers and football players doing like the deadlifts. And I was like, I'll never be able to do that. And I ended up doing it. And I'm just, I never thought I would have been able to do it, but I think it's all thanks to you and just, you inspired me every day I went into the gym. I was like, if Devin can do it, I can.
I mean, look where you are now, man. You
I've
know?
I've pivoted a little bit. I don't do
Yeah.
that as much anymore.
Hmm.
And I actually like this more because I felt like my cardio wasn't as good, and boxing kind of satiates that. So
I mean, I definitely can relate to that feeling you mentioned having because when on my very first day of like exercising, when I was first getting introduced, I didn't really have a buddy to go into it with. It was really just the wrestling coach at the school, if you remember Coach Hill.
yeah,
And the funny story is like he actually wasn't even in the weight room when he first introduced a workout plan to me. I went in by myself and the whole football team was there. And they actually bullied me out of not using the equipment because I wasn't as big or as strong as them. So I didn't even get a chance to work out the first time I wanted
bro, that's so dumb. Like I
to.
don't even think that would happen today. Like gym culture is so good. I've
I
never had a
agree.
bad experience at the gym.
Mhm.
And pretty much anytime I go in there, like anytime people will say something, they're just trying to help you. Like
Oh.
especially if it looks like you're gonna get hurt, you know what I mean? But very
Mhm.
rarely will anybody say anything. And when somebody asks you for a spot, you're always like,
Or
I
is that
got
little
you.
confidence boost?
This like big dude like benching like 4 plates. He's like, you want to spot me? I'm like, yeah, you know. And you're like, could I even lift this if I had to? Probably not, but I got you. Okay, so Magic is still so-so. One day we still
Mhm.
need to go to the beach and do the Jarek for I think he was the one that did that, was it? How to Disturb Reality, where he'd like dig the sand pit and like crawl in
Oh,
it
and
and hide.
disappear from the towel. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you still remember that.
yeah. I don't forget these things. We have to do it one day.
For sure, for sure.
Um,
I'm looking forward to it.
so Magic is kind of it's there. What about
Mhm.
wrestling? Are we still wrestling or interested in
Oh,
wrestling at all?
so a lot of my involvement with the wrestling now more or less comes with like teaching like the next generation of wrestlers.
Hmm.
Like when I get a chance to come back home or like I get to visit the high school, I really just come into practice with them. I don't really use it as a way to keep in shape anymore, and I don't really pursue it
Gotcha.
competitively anymore. Interestingly enough, my cousin, he's like the next person in our family to like want to be in a part of the wrestling program. And he
Aaron,
mentioned,
right?
yeah, Aaron. And
Okay.
he mentioned to me that our head coach currently wants me to come back and introduce a nutrition plan for the wrestlers this season because I'm studying human nutrition, foods, and exercise at college right now.
That would be sick.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm a little nervous. I've always been the type of person where I don't trust the advice I give out to people because I always feel like there are people who could do it better than me, you know?
I 100% know what you mean. 100%. Every day at work, I meet people that like I feel like are just smarter than me. I tell my dad, I'm like, I'm not gonna give that person advice. He's smarter than me, and he's like, you don't know that. And I think there's such power in realizing that like they're not smarter than you. They just like have a different mindset than you are. Like they're smarter in a different way than you, but you're smarter
Mhm.
in a different way than them. And I think everybody's smarter in some way and dumber in another. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And
I
I
think,
think you can do it like 100%. And it's gonna feel like some legacy stuff. You're gonna be like, whoa, I roamed these halls.
yeah, for sure. Every time I come back and like I get to see like my name on the wall, that's always like a
Your
super cool
name's on the
feeling.
wall. Oh yeah, above
Yeah,
the thing,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
that's sick.
So I won districts my senior year, and then shortly after, my coach broke my elbow, and I wasn't able to compete in the
Your
regional or
coach
state
broke
team.
your elbow?
It wasn't on purpose. It
Oh.
was we were practicing maneuvers, and well, I guess I just overextended my arm, and then next thing you know, I heard a pop, and I guess the adrenaline was pumping or something. I just couldn't feel it at the time, but then like an hour and a half later, all of it just came rushing in. And the funny story is like when I went to the athletic trainer that was on site, she gave me a sling, but then I had to drive myself to the hospital. So I had like my arm across my chest and I was just driving like this, trying to be safe all the way there until they gave me the diagnosis that, yeah, I'd broken my elbow.
That sucks, man. I didn't even know that. I tried wrestling for like a month It was seriously only a month. William and Mary had a wrestling
Yeah.
club, and I was like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna try this. I'm strong. I can lift anybody, you know.
Hmm.
But what you learn very quickly is that it doesn't matter how much you can lift if you don't know like the fundamentals of wrestling. You're gonna get destroyed.
For
People were
sure, for
jumping over
sure.
my head. People were like choking me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever. And I also noticed like there was just a lot of tension in my elbow all the time, like right in
Hmm.
here. And I was like, this isn't for me. And so I wanted to get into a combat sport, and I was thinking
Right.
maybe Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and then I came across boxing, and that's all she wrote, man.
I don't know if you've ever seen the series or if you are like still interested in animated series at all, but there was one I had watched this previous summer that reminded me so much of you. I can't believe I forgot to pass this along to you. It's called Hajime no Ippo, and it's basically the story of a young boy who becomes a professional boxer. And it's just so, the emotion and the story behind it is just so gravitating. I would definitely recommend it if you've never seen or heard of it.
It's funny you mentioned that because I literally, this sounds so dumb and so like not anime informed, but I looked up boxing animes and I saw I think just that one, and I was like, oh,
Uh-huh.
I want to check it out, but I think like, see, I'm not like to the point with anime where like I watch it unless it's on Hulu or like Netflix. Like I haven't gotten to
Right.
like the Crunchyroll stage yet.
Yeah.
But I need to because it looked really good. And
Mhm.
everybody said it's like one of the better animes they've seen. So
Oh, for
or
sure.
one of the better anime they've seen. I
Even
did it
like as
did it right.
dated as it is, like I think it came out towards the late 90s, early 2000s. I think it holds up so well.
I mean, some of the best anime you'll see is like in that like late 90s, I feel like, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Isn't that when Cowboy Bebop was out?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think the thing is like it's so cool that like TikTok and other social media like it are out these days because so many people are being exposed to things they weren't interested in before. Like the fact that anime is kind of like trending and is like cool
Yeah.
now blows my mind because I would
Gaming and
bring it up,
anime.
right? Like that those things were not cool when we were in high school, man.
And now like girls are like almost they know like they're kind of fetishized. So they're like
Mhm.
leaning into it. They're like, oh, like half the time you see a girl on Tinder, they're like, we'll watch anime with you, you know? And
And I
it's
mean,
like,
kudos to them, dude. Like,
yeah, that never would have happened like 5 years before TikTok. It just never would have.
I agree. It's just crazy to
Um,
think how much culture changes in such a short amount of time.
yeah, no, it's definitely cool. And I love the TikTok space. I like I just wish I was better at it. I'm not
Mhm.
good at that like short form comedy.
Is there anything like in particular you feel like you're not good at? Because every time I see like an upload from you on TikTok, I feel like I enjoy it. Like I feel compelled to watch all the way through. And I'm not saying that from a space where like I know you as a friend and I want to
Yeah.
stay there to support you. I kind of just watch you unbiased and I
Hon-
enjoy it.
Honestly, like for me, TikTok and like even Vine, like it feels so like gimmicky to the point like where the best, I feel like the people that do it the best, like they know exactly how to hook you in the first like 5 seconds. I'm just not that good at that. Like I need time, you know what I mean?
No, yeah, totally.
I gotta work up to it. So um I just don't think it's like what I like to create. Maybe I am good at it, maybe I'm all right at it, but I don't think I enjoy it as much, if that makes sense.
That's understandable for sure.
So yeah, wrestling, not so much thing, maybe teach it, and you're gonna
Mhm.
use your degree, which is really cool. And then I want to talk to you weightlifting. Are you still doing that?
Oh, yes, very much so.
Awesome.
Uh, so weightlifting for me has definitely become a way for me to relieve stress in my life. It's kind of an escape. Like when I walk through the gym doors and I have music in my ears and my pre-workout is like surging through my veins, it kind of feels like the world shuts off for a little bit. Like everything that
Yeah.
has been troubling me that day just kind of goes away and I can enjoy something in my control. Like I can just pick up some weights, do some heavy lifting and feel good about it, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely understand because that's what it was for me for a long time. And then one day, like, I kind of got bored of it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I need to find something else. And that's
Mhm.
also where boxing came from. But interestingly enough, I was kind of going through a dry spell with boxing after my like most recent loss. I was like, I need to step away just to take a second. And so I
Right.
actually went back to like the regular gym to like lift some weights, and
Mhm.
it really grounded me and centered me. And I felt like I was returning to my heydays of like weightlifting and stuff. And I was like, man, that felt good, but I'm ready to get back in the boxing gym. So, it kind of
Uh,
grounded me.
that's a beautiful feeling, man. Like
Yeah.
when you get reminded of things that you're passionate about, like a reignition sort of.
Yeah.
That's a
And
super cool feeling.
And now like my coach offered me a fight for October, and I honestly don't feel like combat ready because they say like I told you this the other day, I think. Maybe I did. I think it was you. Yeah, it was.
Mm.
That every day you take off of your hobby, it takes 2 days off of you. And I
Yes.
feel like that's so true. I took like a month off of boxing, and now I feel like it's
Mhm,
gonna take every bit of 60 days to get back into it.
mhm.
Um, but I was like, I don't really care if I win or lose. I just want to get into a ring and fight a dude.
No,
And
totally.
so I'm
So have
thinking
you
about
started
it.
preparing for that? Or have
I
you
mean,
thought
I'm
about
going
it?
5 days a week for like
Uh-huh.
2 hours. So like that's every bit of preparing that I can. Sparring a lot. I sparred like 14 rounds yesterday, and tonight I did like 6 hard rounds with a dude who's been doing it for like 12 years. I got whooped.
Mhm.
He like punched me in the throat, and so
Oh my
now
gosh.
I'm like, I gotta go talk to Devon for an hour with a bruised throat. um,
But I
so
mean,
yeah.
that must have been pretty cool to like get in the ring with someone as experienced as that
Yeah.
and like seeing what you could have learned from it.
hmm I mean, you
I
can ask anyone. Like, I'll get in with anyone. I don't care how much experience you have. It's always
uh,
fun.
I would love to come visit you sometime and get to just experience what it's like in a boxing gym because after I'd watched that series, I was like, wow, this seems like such a cool way to get into shape and you learn like a form of combat sports. Like it's just so
Yeah.
fascinating to me.
It
The
also,
training especially, it looks so difficult. I don't know how you guys do it.
you mean difficult like endurance wise, or like, oh, how difficult how?
Oh, everything like in terms of like when you have to weight cut, like the mental attitude, the fortitude you have for it, like doing your road work, every cardio scares the hell out of me. So
I was gonna
it's
say weight cutting is not as big of a problem as you would think because
uh-huh.
like it's so built in. Like when you're wrestling, you kind of it is cardio, like it is, but
Mhm,
I feel like more people can like eat a lot and like still keep their weight and then try to cut it right before the tournament.
mhm.
But like I feel like in boxing, like weight cutting is so built into the training that it's almost hard to like have to cut weight, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Is
I
that
mean,
true that like with wrestling, like you can kind of stay bigger and then right before the fight, like have to cut weight?
oh yeah, so
Yeah.
I've had experience where wrestling always happened around my birthday. And the major holidays, like the eating holidays, like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucked for 4 years straight. But I also learned that I could go out and celebrate my birthday and gain like 7 to 8 pounds in a night and then sweat it all off the next day slash night. So I see
That's what you
exactly where
taught
you're
me.
coming from. Yeah.
That's what you taught me. I mean, I was so worried about making weight precisely. I
Mhm,
learned that in amateur boxing, you can be like within 8 or 9 pounds and still be fine. So all
mhm.
that was for nothing. But it's crazy. Like you told me to do all these things, and like I woke up the next day like 6 pounds lighter. It was
Mhm.
insane.
Oh, like the Epsom salt bath, that became
Yeah.
my best friend for like 4 years.
Did that for an hour, no water
Yeah.
until the morning. That sucked.
Yeah,
That
for sure,
sucked.
for sure. I don't miss those days. I miss the team environment of getting to train with people who want to push you to be better. I don't miss the individual inconveniences like weight cutting for sure.
Yeah. I think you should get into boxing. I think you should try it.
I would love to. My brother Dominic, he's
Yeah.
actually getting into boxing. Like he recently, I know he went to you for some advice about recommendations for equipment and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think he really wants to join like the local boxing club.
Yeah.
So you're definitely you make such an impression on people. I hope you realize that.
I mean, other people make impressions on me. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like we all gotta share like our interests and stuff like that. And boxing is like the loneliest sport. It really is. But like when you when you like share it with other people, and have fun with it, it becomes not as lonely. Like that's the biggest thing I realized is just having fun with it. Like boxing, it's just a game. It's just a
yeah.
game. You're not trying to
Mhm.
kill each other. You are, but it's just a game. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I feel like that's why people like Sugar Sean O'Malley and Conor McGregor, like at least in the UFC, that's why they do so well, or at least
Mhm.
why Conor used to do so well, is because they just have fun with it. They're crazy and they're just there having the time of their life.
Yeah, I love their attitudes. I think a
Yeah.
lot of what they do really turned me on to like watching combat sports because they're just such entertaining personalities to me,
Yeah.
you know?
That's exactly what it is. Like it's almost like watching WWE, which I've never
Yeah.
gotten into, but they have that same kind of like performance when it comes to the fight, which
Mhm.
like, whether or not you like him or not. Like Jake Paul's also pretty good at that, especially for
Yeah, oh,
boxing, you
I
know?
agree for sure. He and Logan are so good at marketing themselves for
Yeah.
success. Like it's kind of insane how many eyes they can get to look at them the second they
Yeah.
like say anything about
Yeah.
anything, you know?
I think like Jake Paul's third fight was like the 12th biggest pay-per-view or something like that. That's insane.
Mhm. I
Um,
it's just it blows my mind that like we are now in a space where anybody can really do anything that they want, and that sentiment is like true, you know.
yeah.
Growing up, everyone always told you you could do whatever you want, be whatever you want, but there were definitely some restrictions to it, and I feel like now, oh my gosh, with everything that there is, it's just mind blowing, you know.
Well, I think that's what's like most attractive to me. Everybody's like, why would anybody ever want to be famous? And I think that's what's attractive to me about being famous. It's
Mhm.
not the money, it's not the cars, it's not the girls. It's literally just the fact that you can pivot to any space, any industry that you want, and you can just throw money at the situation and you can throw resources because when you're rich and famous, like you know other rich and famous people, you
Right.
know? And so you can pivot as freely as you want within spaces
Mhm.
and usually be pretty successful at it, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if you watch like any Gary Vee or Mr. Beast, but when you talk about things like that, those are the first two names that come to my mind, you
Yeah.
know.
The reason I started this was Gary Vee, by the
Oh,
way.
really? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
The
That's
reason
so
I
funny.
started doing the podcast was literally I watched the Gary Vee thing and he was like, "We have more computing power in our pockets than JFK had in the whole country." And I was like, "You know, you're right." And he's like, if you're not uploading to Twitter or to YouTube, you're doing something wrong." And I was like,
Yeah,
I got to start something. And so that's why I did it, you know?
for sure. I think there's always room for improvement as long as you get started with something. There's never going to be like a perfect moment where you have like the perfect equipment or like the perfect setup or the perfect time to do something, you know?
I completely agree. And like you just learn by swimming, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Like that's why I just made TikToks to try to get like these crazy viral videos, but I think like it's also so much effort to have to do like daily. And some people recommend like for the best output on TikTok that you have to upload like 6 times a day. And
Yeah.
I was like, I cannot do that. It's not for
That's
me.
it is pretty crazy to think that a lot of people do so much work for the off chance that they could blow up because some people just upload once without any intentions of it ever growing popular, but it just
Yeah.
does. It's
Yeah.
interesting, like what captures our attention in such a short time span.
I forget his name. I don't know his name at all, but he's the I think it's Angry Reactions on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
I like fell in love with his story because he
Mhm,
like made a TikTok while he was living out of his car. He was homeless. I'm pretty sure most of this will be true, but I might
mhm.
miss a few details here and there. But and I think his second TikTok while he was living in his car, they were all out of his car, but his second TikTok that he ever made blew up, and that's like what got him out of being homeless. And I just think that's like crazy because you know he never expected that, you know? And I just think that's such a cool story.
I
Um,
love that for him though because he changes and touches people's lives so positively. Like every time I
yeah,
see him pop up on my For You page, that's always a guaranteed smile or a laugh for me.
yeah.
And that like makes my day, you know?
Well, that's the other thing that like I try to do with this is like, you know, Gary Vee, he had said that like the best way to really start building yourself is to like start being selfless, right?
Mhm.
And so everything that I try to do now, I try to just like take myself out of it. You know, I
Right.
think that a lot of a lot of the culture of TikTok is like very much look at me. And that's why I don't think I was very good at it because I was constantly trying to be somebody I wasn't in an attempt to
Mhm.
get views.
Right.
And so I'm just trying to strip all that away, you know?
Mhm.
Um, but that's enough about me. I feel like we're talking about me a lot.
There's
Um,
nothing wrong with that. You're such an interesting person, dude. I love getting to talk to you about these things, you know?
yeah. Well, I mean it. You can call me whenever you want,
For
anytime,
sure.
day or
I
night.
appreciate that. That means the world to me, dude.
So let's talk about streaming now.
Okay.
You're kind of doing well with it. I mean, you get some TikToks that blow up, and you know, tell me about like what your plans are there, and if you are planning stuff there, talk to me about the whole thing.
I think as of right now, content creation is something I enjoy doing on the side. It's never been something that I was like, this is the main thing I want to divide, like dedicate all my resources to. I think it's just such a nice escape because whenever say I'm having a bad day or something doesn't go right for me, I love the fact that I can just turn on my camera, play some video games with friends, and I get to meet new people because of it. Like, this is gonna get a little deep and dark. I hope that's okay.
That's
But
okay.
you know,
As long as you
right
don't care
around,
sharing with my
yeah,
million viewers,
of
millions
course,
and
man, of
millions.
course. Right around when COVID started, things took a really deep dive for me in life. I had just gotten out of a pretty serious relationship. Um, I consider myself a pretty socially active person, so I get pretty bad separation anxiety when I'm away from people for too long, like family and friends, and even like strangers. I just need that kind of like energy in the environment
Yeah.
around me. So I'll be honest, man, I was really depressed. And there were a lot of days where I woke up wishing I didn't. And I would just spend the whole day sulking until I could go back to sleep, where I felt like I could just take a break from that. And my brother and cousin, they had started playing video games and streaming before me. So they introduced me to it. And I am so thankful beyond words that could describe. Because man, I just love what I do right now. You know,
Yeah.
I love the fact that you can literally go online and click some pixels on your monitor, and next thing you know, you have people who are connected with you from around the world, and they become friends with you off of it, you know?
Were you not
So
a big like gamer prior to that? I know like you played like the like cult classics like Sly Cooper and stuff like that, but were you not
yeah,
like a big like online gamer before that?
no, not at all.
Interesting.
Like the fact that the way I looked at it was when I was growing up, I had spent so much of my time outside and doing other things that playing video games kind of felt like a waste of time to me. You know,
Yeah.
like I didn't want to spend my whole day doing that. But it's interesting how much your perspective changes whenever you get introduced to these type of things, you know.
Well, you
Um,
joined so late because like I spent my whole life like doing that, like playing video games and like clicking
mhm,
that pixel and talking to everybody. And
yeah,
like I think I had the opposite realization, but they gave us both the same effect. They made us happier. So like you
yeah,
found that world, but I
mhm,
found the other world where like I'm talking to friends and family more, or like I'm challenging myself to do like different things that I'm not good at, and like that's where I find the pleasure. But like you're
mhm.
just experiencing this world that like I've known my whole life, and I
Yeah,
I
man.
didn't know that you like didn't play games in that way growing up. That's crazy to me.
This world is crazy to me. Like the connections I've made through gaming, it it kind of like I don't know how to articulate this well, but I know for a fact that there are always going to be people who I know I can talk to about anything, regardless of like the time of day, or like even
Yeah,
if one friend isn't available, I somehow have another to talk to. And that
yeah,
wasn't always an option for me, you know, like when I wasn't playing video games, if my group of friends wasn't there to talk to me, I had nobody,
right.
you know?
We interrupt this program to bring to you our sponsors. Thank you, Monster Energy, for sponsoring this episode. For 0 sugar and 10 calories, you get a lot of good energy that keeps you going throughout the day. Let me tell you, I have about 3 of these a day. We don't recommend having 3 of these a day. I personally do. As somebody that works 8 hours a day in front of the computer and then has to go box for 3 hours, it's good to have a nice little pick me up. So we recommend Monster Energy as your energy drink of choice. Thank you, and back to the program. Let me tell you a quick story. So
Mhm.
I think it was like 12 years ago, probably 12 years ago. I met this dude on Xbox named Jerking Wookie. Okay,
Okay.
this guy was kind of a douche. He wasn't the nicest guy, but he had a friend. He had a friend named Eric, okay? And this guy named Eric, like he bullied me. At this time I was like, I don't know, I was really young, okay? And
Yeah.
me and Eric just kept playing. We kept playing. We started playing Halo, then we switched from
Mhm.
Halo to Gears of War, and then we switched from Gears of War to the new Halo, so on and so forth. 12 years later, we're still homies. I met this dude. I went to Vegas and I met this dude. Like, I
Yeah.
have a homie for 12 years that I still consistently talk to. I literally just sent him something before I hopped on here. I'm gonna have him on one of these. He's like writing music and stuff. I literally watched this dude and he watched me grow up. Like, we watched each
Yeah.
other grow up. Like, how crazy is that? And I've met him once. Like,
That's
I don't know,
so
man.
dope, man. I the things that you can do now online, like build lifelong relationships, I will always have the most utmost love for, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
No.
glad that it keeps me in contact with people that otherwise I wouldn't be able to.
And like also it takes the struggle out of the one thing that like is hard for people to do. So especially today, like a lot of people just disagree on a lot of things, right? But to
Mhm.
me, the best way to get over that is to do something with somebody because
Yeah.
then you're not talking about like this, that, and the third. You're just talking about the activity that you're doing. So if you go
Mhm.
fishing with somebody that you completely disagree with, you're probably not going to fight because you're just talking about fishing, right?
Right.
Same goes for like gaming. I feel like it's such a good way to like take out that element of something to do because you're
Mhm.
trying to win the game with your friends or your enemies, right? You're just trying to achieve that goal. And so I think that's one of the coolest things about it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. There are definitely some days where I feel so like I take such a deep dive into doing what I'm doing that I lose track of time. And I love that because I know I'm passionate about it and I love putting content out. Because there will be days where I'm editing a TikTok and you know it's going to be captivating for like 15 seconds, but I'll spend hours on it because I want to get this exact frame, this exact transition to sync up with the music or to capture a certain moment that I want everyone to focus on. And you know, not everyone will always acknowledge it. Some people don't even recognize it. And the thing for me is like, as long as I know I'm happy and I'm proud of what I put out and I can make a positive like impact on somebody with it, that means the world to me. That's all that content creation is to me.
But you know what? I
Mm-hmm.
think you mentioned the most important thing there is like people don't notice it. That's the
Mm-hmm.
good thing because I think that if it wasn't done, if that like music wasn't synced up to be with the transition, people would notice that and they'd be like, "Oh, well this video is kind of lazy." But because they don't notice it, that means it's working. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
for sure.
I think that's the
It,
way I look at it anyway.
it makes it feel like all the time you spend into it is worth it.
Yeah.
Because I like even though I say that this is my side project, I'm the type of person where I just fully devote myself to everything that I do.
Yeah.
And so they I can't sometimes I'll be editing a video and I'll forget to eat or I'll forget to sleep. But as long as it ends up the way I want it to,
Yeah.
I'm happy with it, you know?
I think we're like I hate to say this, but I think like you and I are just like hard workers. Like we're hustlers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for
We put
sure.
our freaking head down and we just push through it, you know?
Mhm.
And that's one of the biggest things I'm struggling with right now is like I'm a big guy of routine, and right now I've got a really great routine, but my sleep keeps getting smaller and smaller, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And sleep is always the first thing to go. I say sleep's the only thing that's expendable, you know? Which is
Sometimes it feels like there's just not enough time in the day to get everything you want to get done.
yeah. And not only that, but like you're still in college, right? Last year?
Yeah, I'm on my last year.
Okay,
Mhm.
but I mean even so, I shouldn't even say that. That's wrong of me. You still have responsibilities to do. I say that like you don't have responsibilities. Like cuz I just started a new job and I was thinking,
Yeah.
yeah, and now like that we're adults, we have like jobs to do, but like even in school, like you still have other things that you don't necessarily want to do, but you have
Mhm.
to do. And so like, you know, the more you have to do, like the less time you have to do the things you want. And so the only way to do those is to cut sleep down and down and down until you've pulled an all-nighter and then you drink 15 of these bad boys.
Oh yeah, I definitely have a bit of a problem with caffeine now, but I kind of just push that to the side because there are things that I consider successes that are showing for that excessive caffeine content.
How many of those you drink a day? Uh, uh,
uh I think on average like maybe three.
okay,
An
three.
excessive day is probably like 4 or 5.
We're the same, literally the same.
Yeah.
Like I'll drink pretty much regularly 3 a day, and
Mhm.
then I'll have the fourth one usually.
Because sometimes like when you wake up in the morning and you're tired, you want that little kick,
Exactly.
but halfway through the day your energy dips, so you take
Mm-hmm.
it again.
Yep. And you know, like the beautiful thing about this, I'm gonna sound like an addict. You know, as soon as you crack this open and take a sip, you're gonna feel ready to do whatever it is you have to do, you know?
I feel like a flip switches for me. Like I
Yep.
know that it's time to start, you know.
Yep. God, we are such addicts.
It's okay. We'll get through it.
Uh, yeah, so yeah, man, pretty much I would love for you to come up actually and box. I would love to show you the things that I know, and I would love for you to show me some wrestling stuff because I think
Oh,
it could
dude,
just
for
be fun.
sure.
Um,
Uh, Something that I think I kind of glazed over this a little bit, but you know, being exposed to the world of content creation, it's pretty cool to see how much of an impact you can have on a person's day sometimes. And
Do you have an example?
sure, like I know a lot of people who like even like off stream, or if they don't want to be active in chat, sometimes people just lurk and they'll watch because they're more comfortable just watching instead of talking. Sometimes they'll just message me afterwards and they're like, hey man, like after a rough day, like sometimes it feels better just knowing that I have like you to watch or like someone I can talk to. And I think that's one of the more important things I try to emphasize with my content creation is like I just like making a safe space for people. I don't really
Yeah.
tolerate like negativity or like
Yeah.
bullying or anything like that. So
That's the
sometimes
one thing I've noticed about like your community. It's so
mm,
nice.
yeah, for
Like they're
sure.
so nice. I
Mhm.
join and they're like calling me sexy or something. I'm like, me?
Dude,
Please.
you are so handsome. Please don't even get me started on that.
But like
But
these
like,
people don't even know me and they're like, ah, you're sexy. They're saying
yeah,
nice things about my face. I'm like, oh, you're gonna make me blush.
I think one of the cool things about that is like they don't just say that empty-handedly. Like
Yeah.
there's meaning behind the words that they put out. And I think it's because sometimes, we have rough patches in our life, but there are
Hmm.
those people that just kind of pull you through it. And I feel like that's the kind of community I am proud to have built. I love
Right.
everyone that's involved with my stream and people who come to chat and talk. It really it brings like a tear to my eye to think that like a regular person like me is capable of invoking those kinds of emotion, like those strong raw emotions out of people.
Yeah, no, you don't really think about that as much. And when you kind of have something like a tangible product that you're making, and then like people respond to it, it kind of like, I don't know, it kind of changes it because you're not used to people like telling you how they feel about something you say. But when
Hmm.
you're like creating something or creating a world or a community, whatever it might be, it causes people to respond, you know?
No,
And
for sure.
and I just don't think that people are used to that, at least like people that haven't done content creation or anything like that.
Mhm.
Um, but the one thing that like I think you mentioned that I struggled with when I was trying to do streaming is like you almost need like or I did anyway. I needed like the immediate feedback of like how am I doing, right? And so when I was streaming, like when people would lurk, I'd be like frustrated. I'd be like, I got 3 viewers, like why aren't they talking? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that what helps me with a format like this is I don't necessarily worry about who's watching it. I just worry about this one 60-minute moment that we've got here, and I just
Yeah.
make everything I can of this moment, you
Mhm.
know?
I think that's like kind of a dark side to like dark side to like content creation because it can be really addicting to be a small content creator and see your views go up, like the amount of interactions go up. And when it doesn't like stay consistent or if it like takes a dip, it puts a damp on your mood for sure.
Yeah. It makes you feel like, what am I doing wrong? Like,
Right. It can be really demotivating. But at the end of the day, you got to remind yourself that maybe you started it for the views, but like I just kind of fell in love with the process of it, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, it's also hard to worry about the views when you're affiliate, you know? I mean,
That's not too big. We're trying to hit partner. That's next. That's next.
what
But
are the requirements for partner?
so you have to have like an average of 75 viewers. You gotta have
Okay.
like over like 1,000 followers or something like that. And
How many
I'm definitely
followers do you have? Because I know on
I
TikTok you're doing pretty well.
I think I'm over like 500 on TikTok. We're about to hit 500 on Twitch. That's like my big goal at the
Nice.
moment. I'm hoping to plan something like celebratory for that achievement, but
Hey,
you know,
the minute I did my Mr. Beast thing and then I quit streaming forever, I
yeah.
hosted you immediately. So I hope you at least got like 5 or 10 of those that were
Uh,
watching me on that.
dude, it's just I love how like when you make friends in this space, you guys just always support each other. Like
Yeah,
that's such a huge thing for me.
I mean you have to because like otherwise you're just gonna feel like crap all the time. I feel like
Hmm.
you
I
gotta
mean,
have
also,
homies to support.
right? It doesn't like it doesn't cost you anything to be nice or to shed some light on someone who may not be as well known as you. You know,
Yeah,
I def
100%.
I try to I try to reach out to like a lot of people who are trying to do the same thing, like with a smaller following. Or I'm not. That's not to say like I have a huge following or anything like that, but that's more like if they ever have any questions, like I try my best to answer them, and if they ever like want to collaborate on something, I try to do that with them too. It's
Well,
just.
I think you raise a good point because like I have a what do they call it? When you're like embarrassed to like something, a secret pleasure, I guess. I don't know what it's
Oh, a
called.
guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. That's
Yeah,
right. I
yeah.
have a guilty pleasure for PokeTubers.
Uh-huh.
I can't believe I just said that. I have a guilty pleasure for PokeTubers, and what I've
Yeah.
noticed in the PokeTuber space, and that's by the way a YouTuber that plays like Pokemon on
Mhm.
YouTube, is that a lot of the smaller creators, we're talking like 20K, that's big, but like they're still small in terms of YouTube. A
Right.
lot of them will like band together and they'll
Mhm.
like share their viewership, and then they'll
Yeah.
like overnight get to like 100K, 200K, 300K. And like I think that's so smart, like for you to literally seek out like other small creators, and for you guys to like share your viewership, host each other, rate each other all the time. And I think that's an excellent way to grow. If you have like 10 people of different stream fan bases doing that, I mean,
Mhm.
you'll all share the same viewership, which is kind of tough, you know?
Yeah, so like I know you've been on Twitch and like are you familiar with the raid system at all? Like
Yeah.
the hosting, what you mentioned. So I try to make it a point where I always try to find either a good friend or someone brand new. Sometimes I'll just browse through a certain category and I'll send followers their way and we'll like, well, I'll drop a follow. We'll like say, hey, what's up? Like, how's your day going? And like that makes their day, you know? Some
Yeah.
people who like just play this game or like they're just talking to one person the entire time, they suddenly get like this flood of views and they're like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. You know, that's a pretty fulfilling feeling.
I wish somebody did that to me. I'm over here like with like 0 or 1 viewers, or it's always one because you have yourself or
Yeah.
something like that. But I had like
Uh-huh.
1 viewer. If somebody had like sent even 4 people my way, I would have been like, me? You know what I mean? I would have been so
Yeah,
happy. I would
for
have felt
sure.
so honored. So I think it's really cool that you do that. And sometimes I was telling my friend this, I won't mention his name because he was going through a really dark spot. He just got out of a relationship. He couldn't get over her. Like we're talking 5 years, okay?
Mhm.
He couldn't get over her, and like he wasn't able to land a job, but he was constantly applying for jobs. This, that, and the third. And basically, I just told him like, dude, like just try this stuff, like try manifesting, try being more confident, like just try. And I gave him a bunch of different strategies, and ever since he's just been like wildly confident in himself. He got a job, a
Mhm.
really good job. He's in grad school. He's like dating this new girl that's like everything he's ever wanted out of a girl. And like it's not thanks to me, it's literally just because he was confident, and because he is confident now. And
Yeah,
like I think if you can give a new streamer even a little bit of confidence, you will forever change their trajectory. You know what I mean?
dude, I love that so much. I love those success stories of people who may not always be like feeling themselves, but like when they're reminded like how much like potential they have, they just explode off of that. And, you
Yeah.
know, some people just never get the chance to tap into the potential that they have, and it's really sad, you know?
Yeah, and I think just that little push, like that little push is literally all somebody needs, and then they can just run with it, you know?
Mhm.
It's crazy. And I
I
think that's
love.
what theater did for me. Like, you remember Miss Brown?
Yes, I do
I
remember Miss
I
Brown
walked
actually.
into auditions because me and I think Miriam Peacock, I probably shouldn't say her name for my millions of followers. I know they'll all look her up. But
Uh-huh. She was
Miriam,
very pretty.
she is very pretty. She's still very pretty. I'm trying to have her
I
on here.
bet. I haven't seen her in a while, so I'm basing it off the fact that I like, you know, that was the last image I have of her back in high school. So I
She's
don't know what
still
she looks like.
she's living out in LA now. Yeah,
Wow.
she's
Okay.
doing the thing. But I'm gonna have
Uh,
her on here so you can watch that episode.
that's so dope. I'm looking forward to it,
I'm gonna
man.
tell her I'm gonna tell her that we both called her pretty.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
um,
You pass that on.
but she and I both decided like collectively we were gonna audition for our town. I think it was, or it was somebody anyway. And Miss Brown said something to me. I can't remember, but it just gave me confidence. And then from that moment forward, like my whole trajectory changed because until that moment, I was like this shy, like reclusive, like just I didn't want to talk to anybody. And then like, I started the theater thing,
Mhm.
and then I joined yearbook, and then I became a magician because of my friend Devon, and I just kept climbing that ladder of like learning how to be socially active.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just that little boost of confidence. Somebody along the way needs to instill that in somebody because it'll
Mhm.
it'll take them a long way.
I think
So
it's really interesting you mentioned that because you know, prior to like finding the confidence or like that boost to do something. For me personally, I felt like I was like I didn't have confidence, but I was kind of full of myself. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
Like I would say, I'm capable of doing this, but I don't think this is the right time to do it. So I think the perfect opportunity will come along at some point, and I like it just never did, man. There is no perfect opportunity or like perfect
Yeah.
chance for something to happen. Like I just had to do it.
I think it's also very easy to like, and I'm not saying this about you, just generally. I think it's
Mhm,
also very easy to cover up insecurities with like false confidence. So like, if you're really afraid of something,
mhm.
you'll be like very arrogant, I guess, about it, because you're
That
scared of it.
that was a pretty big coping mechanism for me growing up because I had very little confidence in me until, I found magic. That was a
Yeah.
pretty big part of my life. And I think the sooner I got used to the idea of not everyone liking me or not everyone liking everything that I do, it was for the better. I was always so afraid of like taking the wrong, like meeting someone on the wrong foot or like,
Failure is so scary,
it is for
but the more
sure.
comfortable you become with it, it's like a secret sauce. Nobody tells you
Yeah.
about it. But when you're excited to fail, it's a secret sauce. That's
I
what
think
they're not
that's what
telling you.
I think that's what got me through high school because every essay I would write about my fear of failure, and I would always use the same analogy. I would always talk about how there was this child who, like, at the age of 5, went to school and he wasn't able to speak. And then, like, a couple of years passed. When his class would advance, he was still so far behind. And eventually, it was to the point where, like, his parents had to pull him out of school, and they're like, "Well, what are we going to do with this kid of ours?" So they just put him to work, and he got fired from every job that he ever worked at. And he just like everything in his life that could have went wrong until he finally found what he wanted to do. And then Thomas Edison invented the filament for the light bulb, dude. Like that just blows my mind.
I was thinking, who is this sad kid? I feel bad for him, and that Thomas Edison. I was like, wow, I didn't know that.
And we still talk about him
Yeah,
in history classes to this day, You
right,
just never know what can happen until you find the thing that you want to do.
right. And unfortunately, the only way to find that is just literally try everything. You know.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, failure doesn't mean that you are incapable of doing something. At least that's a pretty broad statement. I think if you fail at a certain something, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try it again or move on to something else, if
yeah.
that makes more sense.
I think the thing that taught me, because I lost my third fight. I've only had 3 fights. I lost my third fight,
Mhm,
and I was so mad the day of, like, or not even the day of, because it really wasn't. I was mad, like, when he got his hand lifted. I was like, man, what did I do wrong? And then the minute I stepped out of that ring, I said, okay, you can look at this a couple ways, and we're gonna try to look at it positively. So I went up to my opponent, and I like shook his hand, and I introduced myself, and I said, you fought really well. Like, like what advice do you have for me? And I just try to like make something good out of a bad situation for me.
mhm,
And he had said, well, this is my second fight, he said. And I lost my first fight, and I literally, it kept me awake at night. And so I trained really hard, I worked really hard, and I came in here today and I was able to beat you, but you fought really well. And just, he said, let it keep you awake at night. I know that sounds bad, but that's the advice he gave me.
mhm.
And so I try to turn that failure into something I could learn from, you know?
No, totally. By the same token, I think I experienced this more with wrestling and you more with boxing, but like it is so heart-wrenching to put so much time, effort, and energy into doing something that you want to succeed at, only to have it blow back up in your face. Like the
Yeah,
feeling of defeat is just so terrible. Like it puts tears in your eyes, like
yeah.
so frustrating.
And the thing is like, and especially in wrestling and boxing, like you have nobody to blame but you. And
Oh yeah.
that's the power of it, is like it makes you accept responsibility. Like if you're on a football team, I'm sure everybody that plays football says, "Oh, well, I did well.
Hmm.
But my team, they didn't do so well, or my coaches
Hmm.
called made the wrong call," right? I'm sure most people would say something like that. What are you gonna say in boxing and wrestling? Like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna say?
And it like even applies to something as casual as gaming because like I feel like I'm at a place right now where I'm at a certain rank and I've been there for a while, and it's so easy to be like, dude, my teammates are so bad, like for this, that, and that reason, and this is the reason why I'm not succeeding. But then the only way you can get better is by taking accountability for what you're able to do. Like, what are you contributing to the team? And
Yeah.
like, you know, if
I
you improve yourself, everything else will follow.
I feel like you were calling me out a little bit, not like I've changed, but when I
Uh,
was big in Overwatch, I was hard stuck gold, and I would
yeah.
always be like, "Man, my team sucks. I'm not getting any heals. My tanks won't walk forward. My
Yeah.
DPS aren't killing people. What the
Mhm.
heck, man?" Um, but then I started thinking, what am I doing wrong? And I realized like maybe the way I was healing wasn't like good for the whole team. Maybe it was
Mhm.
just good for a couple players, and I changed the way I played, and I accepted that, oh, that was my bad. I immediately climbed a diamond. You know what I mean? So like
Oh yeah.
it just
So
accepting that.
that wasn't to throw any shade on you. That was definitely all a personal attack on me because I feel like I still struggle with that. I try to keep a
Yeah.
positive attitude, but sometimes those thoughts just creep in, and it's so easy to lose the reality of the situation when you become more focused on others than you do yourself.
Especially in gaming. I feel like
Uh-huh.
in gaming particular, it's more common than like in traditional sports. But with
Mhm.
gaming, like it's so easy because one, these people aren't in front of you. Two, like, is very competitive. It's so easy to just be like, my team sucks. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I just wonder why that is. I don't like it's always been the case.
I've also noticed that like my win to loss rate changes so much on how much like what kind of attitude and atmosphere the team has. Cause like when we're
Yeah.
vibing and we're having fun, you don't even realize you're winning by such a wide margin. But when you
Right.
get frustrated and you're mad and you're like yelling at each other and you're blaming each other, the next thing you know, the game's already over and you've already lost.
Yeah. And I think the same is true in like sports and stuff like that. The moment you lose your composure is the moment you start underperforming.
Mhm. I
Um,
think another thing for me is like oh my gosh, this is digging so deep into some other stuff. But I I have always had a thing where I've always hated being compared to other people. And I think that's what instilled such a competitive drive in me because I've always just wanted to be better. And for
right.
the longest time, I always used to compare my like my success was determined by how much better I was doing than someone else. But I came to realize that that's just not a way to live life or to look at
Yeah.
life. And I think I don't remember who told me this story, but it literally changed my life. I think I might have gotten it from like a motivational speech or something, but they mentioned it as being like driving in a car on a highway, so you're headed to your destination and you're in your own lane, but you notice a different car that might be moving faster than you. And like the lesson to take away is like when you focus too much on the other lane or like how fast someone else is going or like how like slow they're going, it can like change the course of your destination because you're so focused on it. Like you're
Yeah.
trying to follow them, but you're getting further away from your destination. And I
That's
like
actually
to
a
apply that to
really
like goals,
good metaphor. Oh my
right?
gosh. That's
Right?
crazy.
It was that
Car
was
metaphors, man. There's so many good car metaphors. That's true though, because like, you look slightly one direction and you start drifting that way and instead of driving toward your goal. That's really powerful. I'm definitely gonna reuse that one.
Dude, by all means, that changed my life. I'm hoping it changes someone else positively like it did mine.
But I think I do fall into that trap as well of comparing myself. My buddy, one of my best friends here, we went to William and Mary together. He got a job at Amazon, and
Mhm.
I remember for the first couple weeks I felt embittered. I was like, I'm not trying to throw any shade, and he'll probably see this, so he already probably knows this, and if he doesn't, surprise. But I felt like, man, I work so much harder than him. I work so much harder than him. How come he's
Mhm.
getting the job at Amazon? Blah 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 blah. But then you just realize that that's a stupid way to look at it because like we both had to do something really hard, and at the end of the day, truthfully, he studied harder for the interview because I was like the interview questions are dumb. I think they're so stupid. Why do they standardize like interview questions, right? But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, he studied really hard for that. I didn't. He deserved it? And I think when you kind of step outside of yourself and you realize that, it can make you grow, because now I'm like, okay, I'm interested in Amazon. I think I have the work ethic for it, and I think I have the potential for it. I definitely
Yeah.
need to look at those interview questions though.
Mhm. Kudos and congratulations to your friend for landing that job though.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
huge. And he's actually going to be working like if we ever go back to in life or in real life working, like
Yeah.
non-virtual working,
Uh-huh.
we'll be working in the same city. So I'm really
Oh,
excited for that.
that's
Yeah.
so cool, man.
It's
Literally
Arlington,
so cool.
so I'll be pretty
Oh, so
close.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know where life is going to take me in the next couple of years, but I hope I'm still relatively close to the Virginia area. I can't
I'm,
imagine life outside of it.
I mean, your job can pretty much, it's needed everywhere, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's both exciting and terrifying to think about, like, where I could go, you know?
Just trust it, man. And honestly, like you've been going to school for so long and you're so good at school, but the minute you start like your job, you're just gonna love it. You have so much freedom. There's so much trust just for you to do what you have to do as long as you deliver. It's so
Yeah.
nice, man. I love it so far, you know?
I'm happy for you, man. I'm glad. Like
Yeah,
it brings joy to me to see you doing well right now, for
yeah,
sure. Especially finding like a project like this podcast. I love this
yeah.
for you, man. This is so cool. And I appreciate you inviting me to be a part of it. Like, this is so cool, man.
Yeah, man. I
So
keep
cool.
telling people there's like three requirements if I can remember them. You have to like be a friend that I don't get to talk to as often. You have to be somebody that's doing something really cool that I'm interested in. So like for you, you take the cake on that because you know you literally taught me magic. You taught me weightlifting. You didn't teach me wrestling. That's okay. But and now you're like a guy that's pursuing like gaming and like streaming and entertainment and like on Twitch and like you just have so many verticals that you're attacking and I identify with that because I'm constantly looking for a new challenge, you know.
Mhm.
I started painting like
Oh,
what?
dude.
Well,
Really?
like digitally, not like
Uh-huh.
real, but like on Photoshop. I started like
I still think that's real. That's a form of art. Have you
it's
heard of
true.
NFTs?
Yeah. I have. I have a problem with the gas prices right now of
Mm,
NFTs and stuff like
mhm.
that, but they're definitely interesting.
I don't
I
know too
just
much about it, but I just keep hearing about how much money is being generated in terms of like NFTs right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made, but I think that it's now oversaturated. Like I now think it's too late to get in, and
Mhm,
that's why like I've kind of dipped my toes,
mhm.
and I'm like, okay, I can't even like I made like two small purchases, and I can't even like sell them because I
Yeah.
don't have enough money to
Oh,
sell them,
uh-huh.
right? Like that's how bad it is to sell like a $30 NFT. It's like 150 bucks. You know what I mean? So
It's
like,
kind of how cryptocurrency feels like to me right now. I
yeah.
was kind of late to the Bitcoin. I'm trying to get onto the Ethereum wave. My
Yeah.
brother, so the funny thing is, he invested like a couple bucks into Dogecoin as a joke, but that was a couple weeks before it blew up because
Yeah.
of Elon. And I won't say how much he's made off of it, but like, wow, I really wish I had joined him.
It went from like 7 cents to like 50 cents or something crazy like that. I remember that. It was like in March, right? Or did he get it
Mhm.
even sooner?
He got it like, so as soon as we were introduced to cryptocurrency by our uncle. He's huge into this.
Okay.
He studies it extensively, and he's always trying to provide us with like newest information on the market. So he got a pretty early dive into it. Dominic, like, he just had extra credit, I think, because of how
Yeah.
much he had invested so far, and he tossed it into Dogecoin as a joke because Dogecoin sounded funny to him.
Yeah.
Like, how do you find something that's funny to you, and then it suddenly overnight becomes like this huge sensation that has is so much worth to it?
Well, I think there's a good point to be made there is like he just thought it was funny. And I think
Mhm.
90% of people's success comes from something they don't expect or just when they're following their heart. Like I know it
Yeah.
sounds dumb, but like sometimes the statistics and everything, they just aren't it. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Sometimes you just need to do something that is interesting to you or looks good to you. And I think it'll work out, you know?
for sure, for sure. I wish I had taken that advice more often when I was younger. I think that would have led me to a bunch of different avenues that I don't have available to me now. But
Yeah.
hindsight is 2020. We can only move forward in life.
Yeah, because you started school studying like biology, right?
Yeah, I had originally come to school wanting to become an orthodontist. And
What? I didn't know.
because
I feel like I knew
so
that, but maybe I didn't. I don't know.
it was tossed into I'm the first person in my family to get to this level of education.
Me too.
So yeah, congrats,
Let's
dude,
go.
the bond.
Yes, sir.
It's just, my heart wasn't in it as much as I want to make my parents proud, and as much as like I want to be considered financially successful. Like, I just couldn't put myself behind it. And
Yeah.
I feel like when I can stand behind something and believe in it fully, then I can really dedicate myself to it. But if I don't, then I just can't, I
Yeah.
can't force myself to do it.
And this isn't to make any one-to-one comparisons because everybody's different, literally
Mhm,
everybody. But I had that thought so often while I was at William and Mary, it would put me to tears. Like it would make me like want to drop out. Like at one point when I was dating, my ex,
mhm,
she lived in Clarksville at the time studying musical theater, and I found a college really close to her, like 45 minutes. That they uh they were really good for their audio engineering program, so like beat
mhm.
production, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Something that had always interested me. And I was like, Dad, let me transfer. I am so done with this computer science stuff. So done, right? And my dad, he's always been, he was a Marine, and he was like,
yeah.
you're gonna stick through. Like you're going to,
Mhm.
period. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I ended up doing it. I stuck through, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And like, I'm super proud that I made it through it, but like, I think it would have made me happier to do something else. But I'm definitely thankful for the path that I've stuck with and the fact that I was able to get through it.
Mhm.
But I think there's joy to be found on both sides, both with
For
switching
sure.
to something that you enjoy as well as like achieving something that you thought you couldn't.
Yeah. Wow, you really put it to words, like a feeling that I have always had such a hard time processing. There's definitely beauty to be found on both sides. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. It might just be a different type of like way to enjoy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be honest, I have to pee.
That's
So
okay.
we'll probably call it wraps here.
Yeah,
First, would you like to call out your socials and everything where all of my millions of followers can go follow you?
sure. You can find me at ssjdevon on Twitch, Instagram, and TikTok. On Twitter, it's Devon, DEVON, NGUY, the number three, and then the letter N. And that's basically everything that I'm active on.
Awesome. And I'll put SSJ Devon up in your box so
Okay, thank
they
you,
can
man.
see that. Yeah.
I really appreciate this opportunity to just get to talk to you and catch up. But at the same time, it feels really fun to just talk about things
Yeah.
I've been passionate about and I'm still pursuing. So thank you, man.
100%. And I guess
I
this is my way of saying that like your hard work is paid off, if for no other reason than to come on this super awesome podcast and to keep
Dude,
grinding, man.
this is a super awesome podcast, man. I'm really excited to see like where this will continue going. You have such a variety of characters that come
Yeah.
onto your show, man. Like genuine, like
90% of them we went to high school with.
I saw the thumbnail for your most recent one, and you were talking about drag, and then like the episode that I caught like a glimpse of while I was driving to school today was talking about the next Benny Blanco Wyatt. Oh my gosh, I love that
Yeah.
episode. That was super interesting to watch.
I appreciate that,
So
bro.
yeah,
Well,
for sure.
this has been a really good one. Just catching up with an old friend because
Mm.
a lot of the other people I've had on, I haven't really kept up with as well as I've kept up with you. And
Yeah.
today's definitely had a different tone, and I think taught me a few things on how to kind of carry these forward. Like just
Mm.
be more relaxed. That's what I'm going to try to do. So I appreciate you for coming
That's
on,
awesome, man.
teaching me that lesson.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
So much love and appreciation for you, bro. I
Yes,
hope you have a good rest of your
sir.
night.
You as well. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
See
Bye.
you.